Okay, I have the LifeTrak Brite R450 here, which is a fitness tracker, or a life tracker as they call this one, unlike some of the other ones. I'll explain why later, but it costs about £72 in the UK, depending on where you get it, or around $70. It has a recommended retail price originally of £130 or $130. There's three main colours it comes in: black and titanium, which is this model here, black and Freesia, which is the sort of yellow band one, and then there is a white and Orchid, which kind of has a silver shell with like a white and sort of purplish colour band. Now the bands are interchangeable or replaceable, so maybe you get this one with a black band and you actually fancy, say, a more white band or a yellow band or something, you can get other bands. Or if something happens to this band, like I don't know, it gets chewed or something like that by a dog or whatever, you know, the point is, if something happens to this band, it will come off, both ends, both sides will come off, both straps will come off, and you can replace them, either to replace something that's happened to this strap, or to, if you fancy a different colour, a different style. So that's really, really good. Now, the one thing I'd like to point out about the different colours is it will also depend upon what type of screen you like, because the other two have a screen and you can't change it once you got it, so this is quite important, you can't change it when you got it. But the other models, such as the one with the yellow band or the white one, the screens, the background on the screen is white. This one, it's kind of a black background with kind of grey text, and I do think this is slightly harder to see. It's a little harder to see what's on this screen than probably the others. I haven't tried the others, so I can't say for sure, but I think this titanium one has a little bit of a harder to see screen. However, it does have a backlight if you need it. And I will go into the backlight a little bit more later, because something I'd like to mention about it. It is waterproof up to 30 meters or 90 feet, so you can go quite a ways under and it will be waterproof. In fact, I have worn this in the shower multiple times. I think for about 4 or 5 days in a row I've worn this in the shower, absolutely fine. Also, I will do a water test where I put it in a little bowl of water for a minute, just to sort of show you that I have tested it properly in water. It has long battery life. Now this is something you'll either love or you'll hate about this watch. It uses what you might call a watch battery. It uses a cell battery, like a lot of older watch style digital watches do, and basically it can last up to around about, on average use, about 6 months, which is really, really, really good. But it does mean that you will have to eventually buy a new cell battery and put it in, or take it to a watch shop and have it done for you. In fact, they recommend that you take it somewhere because it's more likely to stay waterproof. However, watch shops often say they can't guarantee it's going to be still waterproof anyway. But what I will say, if you go do this yourself and put in a new battery, you unscrew the back, you take out the battery, and basically there's a video online on the LifeTrak YouTube, so I recommend you watch that thoroughly. But basically, what I want to say is, if you do it yourself, make sure when you put it back together, once you put the battery in and you put the back on, make sure it's quite tight to make sure it's waterproof still. And that battery, in case you need to know, is a CR2032, so it's a CR2032. It has an accurate ECG heart rate sensor, which can register heartbeats from 30 BPM to 240 BPM, so that should be enough for pretty much anybody, because I would think if it goes much higher than that, you're probably going to have serious problems. And even a very highly trained athlete is probably only going to be down in the 40s, so you probably aren't going to go down lower than 30, even if you're a trained athlete anyway, so it's a good range. It has a light track, which is one of the big selling points of this. This is why it's known as LifeTrak Brite. Basically, what that does, it has a light sensor, and that light sensor tracks not just the ambient light but also the blue light levels. Now, blue light is in all light sources, but primarily from the sun. So if you don't get enough blue light, that can cause health problems. In fact, that is what happens when you hear of people having the winter blues. Some people might not normally have depression, but if But come winter time, they get really, really depressed for no reason. That's because they're lacking blue light, or at least sometimes anyway. So sometimes doctors will prescribe special blue lights for people like that. So it's a good way to keep track if you're getting enough sunlight, enough light to stay healthy, which is really, really good, especially if you're somebody that has problems, maybe say with that type of thing like depression from not getting enough light. You can keep track of it here, which is really, really good. Also, because it has a light sensor, unlike some of the other models and ones by other companies, it means that the backlight on this isn't wasted. It only is used when you need it. So if I were to try to turn it on now, and how you do that is you hold in, you basically just press the middle button, which is a way to select and change menu options. If you were to press that, if there's enough light, the backlight doesn't come on, so it just acts as a select button basically. But if you are in very low light and you press the select button, it turns the green backlighting on for a few seconds, then after a few seconds it'll go off unless you've turned it on and you start scrolling to different menu options, and it'll stay on for you until you're finished. So that's really good. It doesn't waste battery because the backlight only comes on when it thinks you're going to need it because of the light sensor. That is really, really good. It also has LifeTrak 2.0. Now some of their other watches, fitness trackers, do have LifeTrak. This has a newer LifeTrak 2.0, and what that does is a lot of, not just fitness trackers, but a lot of smartwatches have a way to monitor the quality of your sleep, like if you're getting quite a restful sleep at night or if you're very restless. But this one is really good because the trouble is with a lot of these things like smartwatches is you have to, before you start sleeping, tell it, okay, I've started sleeping now. You have to turn it on. Then when you wake up, you have to turn it off. Now, if you forget to turn it off in the morning, which I'm sure is something I would do if I had to use that, where you turn it off manually, it's got to keep monitoring and mess up your statistics, your stats, because it's got to think you're still asleep when you're actually awake. So I think I really don't like those sort of sleep quality tracker things and things like smartwatches where you have to manually turn them off, turn them on and off, because to me, I think you've got to probably forget to turn it on a lot of times in the morning. Whereas this one, it auto detects when you go to sleep. So when you go to sleep, it starts monitoring your sleep. Then it knows when you wake up and it will stop monitoring your sleep. That is so good. Now personally, if I was using this or another fitness tracker or a smartwatch and it only had a sleep tracker that you had to turn on and off, I just wouldn't bother. I just wouldn't bother using it. But with this one, because it monitors it yourself, all you got to do is keep your watch on and it will sort itself out. It'll do it intelligently. So I actually do use this and I think it's quite handy. In fact, there are fitness trackers that will monitor your sleep that are a lot more expensive. For example, the Microsoft Band 2, which seems like a pretty good product, but you pay in about £150, basically £150 to £200 for a much more expensive band, and that doesn't intelligently do it. You have to turn it on and off, which, so basically that really makes it stand out even more for the fact that some more expensive products don't do that. This actually does it, and it's much cheaper. So that is really, really good. I think that's a really good selling point to this fitness tracker. It also has what they call intelligent Wakeup. Now what that does is you set an alarm and it's silent. It doesn't actually have a sounded alarm. It doesn't actually have an alarm that makes a lot of loud noise. It's a silent alarm using a little vibration motor. So it sort of vibrates on your wrist. Now you can set, say, I don't know what time you might want to get up, say 8 AM. You can set it to 8 AM. Then you can select a window of say 30 minutes. And it will detect when you're in the best time to wake up. So make sure it wakes you up at the optimal time. So it tries to make sure that it wakes you up when you're not in a deep, deep sleep, because that's not really good for you to wake up suddenly when you're in a deep sleep. So it will detect the optimal time. So if it needs to get you up and it decides, okay, this isn't 8 AM, it's like 10 to 8, but you're not in a deep sleep, maybe I should wake you up now. Or, oh, okay, it's 8 AM, you're in a deep sleep, I'll give you a couple more minutes, then it will get you up then, which is really good. So it makes sure you get up when you're not in a deep sleep, and it might not really be good for your health if you're getting woken up suddenly in a deep sleep, or you might wake up grumpy, etc. So that is really good. It has an intelligent wake up alarm to wake you up at the optimal time. That is really, really good. The only downside I would say is if you're quite a deep sleeper, I know it's meant to get you up when you're not in a really deep sleep, but still I just feel that some people just aren't going to wake up very easily with that subtle vibration. I don't take much notice of it myself. I found that, well, it's hard for me to judge because most of the days I've had this, unfortunately, I've been waking up myself earlier than the alarm I set. But one day I didn't, and I woke up an hour and a half later than the alarm I set on this. So it obviously wasn't enough to wake me up. I was obviously so tired. So I think it could have done with perhaps a stronger vibrating mechanism to wake people up like that. So it is quite a subtle vibration, but it's better than nothing, and it does work, and it's going to work better on some people than others. It stores its statistics, such as how many steps you've walked, your distance, your calorie count burnt, and your sleep statistics up to 7 days, which isn't perhaps much. You might think, oh, well, I want a whole year or whatever. Well, that's because this uses Bluetooth and uses a low energy Bluetooth, so you can then sync all the stats from this onto your phone, such as your iPhone or your Android phone, via their app, and store all your data there, so you won't lose more than, so you can store more than 7 days on your phone. So you just have to make sure you sync your watch to your phone every once a week or more often. It has a 50 to 60 step buffer, which means that it won't start tracking immediately. It will make sure that you are actually walking, so it sort of filters out 4 steps first, which is very good. As I briefly mentioned, it has an intelligent backlight. It has smartphone notifications, which not all fitness trackers do, and some of the cheaper models by this company don't have the notifications. So if you want to leave Bluetooth turned on, which will of course use more of your battery, but if you want to leave that on and have it paired with your phone and bring your phone with you, you'll get notifications from your phone in your pocket onto the watch saying things like, oh, you got a Facebook message or whatever. Now, personally, I don't need that. I leave it off to save battery. But if you are somebody who likes getting notifications to your watch, then it's here. It has a inactivity alert, which is a sedentary alert, which basically says, oh, it depends what time you set. You can set it 30, 60 minutes, whatever. It says, okay, it's been 60 minutes, you've been sitting down, it's time to go for a little walk to stretch your legs, basically. So make sure you're not sitting down too much, which is what a lot of these and smart watches have. Its LCD screen has a diameter of 27 millimeters. It has an adjustable and durable band with a SureSnap Clasp lock. I'll try to show you that a little closer up to the screen because it doesn't use a buckle. It has basically these holes, and then on the other end there's 2 little prongs basically, and you put it around your wrist and snap the little prongs through the holes. I'll show you that a little closer up anyway. And it's really good. It has an impact resistant polycarbonate lens. So it has an impact resistant lens on the screen there to try to make it smash proof. So if you knock it, you're not going to get a big crack in your screen, at least not easily. It's shock tested to 8 kV contact and 15 kV air. I don't know much about shock resistance and their ratings, but just in case you do, that's what it is. It's tested to 8 kV contact and 15 kV air. It has, as I've mentioned, a LifeTrak app on your Android and iOS phone for syncing your stats, and also, which is really good about that app, you can also, and I'll show you the app in a minute, you can actually set up your watch via the app instead of using the buttons and menus directly on the watch. So instead, there's 3 buttons, as you can probably see there, though you'll see closer up, but you have a top button, a middle button, which is mostly your select button, then a button below that, a 3rd button, which is what you also not just use to scroll down on menus. You can, from the clock screen, you can hold that in to turn Bluetooth on and off. Now you can either navigate the menus that way using up, down and select there, or if you think that might be a bit tricky, you can just do it all from the app wirelessly. It's just really good. You can completely do all the settings, all the options from your actual phone instead of trying to navigate on this little screen with the buttons. And that's personally how I do it. I do all the setup from the app, and you can also sync your time. So instead of having to put in your date and your time manually using the buttons on the watch, you can have it sync from the time, your network time on your phone straight to the watch, which is what I do. It's very handy. It also will share its data, its like pedometer status, such as your calories burnt and your steps, with either Health Kit on iPhone or Google Fit on Android. Although on Android I've found that it shares your steps and calories burnt and your weight if you put in your weight on the app, but for some reason it doesn't seem to share your active time. It doesn't seem to share your active time with Google Fit, and sometimes it doesn't seem to share your miles, like you've walked 2 miles or whatever. So it is a little hit and miss at the moment with Google Fit. I can't speak for Health Kit, but then again, I think Google Fit support via LifeTrak app is quite new. Now in a sec, I'm going to actually try to show you the screen and the menus on the watch. Now this having a black background, trying to film it, is probably going to be nearly impossible, but I'm going to give it my best shot, and if it doesn't, it's not a huge deal, as you can do all the options anyway on the phone app, which is what I'm primarily going to show you. I'll show you the menus as best I can though on the watch. Okay, now this actually might be more viewable than I had anticipated. Now, because I have it on the stand, it might not be perfectly straight to the camera, it's probably at an angle, but it's better than nothing, especially since I need to sort of have it on some sort of stand and navigate with my hands. But I'll show you the best I can. Now, here you have the time, a progress bar depending upon what you have selected here. Now, at the moment it has like the mileage. So basically, at the moment it says, today I walked 4.3 miles, although I think it was closer to 5 miles. That isn't a knock against this watch. I found any pedometers I have used, either fitness trackers, smartwatches, whatever, the amount of miles it says I've walked seems to be less than I actually have. I'm not really understanding why that is, but it's not just this watch, because the steps seem accurate. I walk about 5 miles a day lately since the weather has been nice, and it normally says this, and the smartwatches I've used tend to say I've walked about 12 or 13,000 steps, which seems about right for the distance, but they always say I've walked about 4.2 miles. Not really sure why that is. Plus, yesterday I walked with this 5 miles and it said I walked 5.2, so it seems to vary from day to day, and I don't understand why, but it's not just this one. So anyway, we have the miles selected. We can hit enter and change it here. This is calories. This is an estimate how many calories I burnt today, and it says I think 2949. I'm having trouble seeing it from behind the camera. Hit it again. We can see steps, so it says I've done about 11,173 steps today. Yet yesterday I walked the same distance and it said 13, but that will vary, of course, depending upon your pace and things like that, of course. Then the first one in the row here with the symbol there is how many hours you slept. Now you can see I slept about 7 hours 48 today, and as you can see, so I didn't quite meet my goal of 8 hours, although I thought I had it on 7 hours, but still. Then you see the bar isn't all the way up. Now if I had slept 8 hours, it would have a full bar. So that bar does gauge how far it is in, and you can just keep flicking through this. Now, if you want to quickly see this with the day and date as well as the time, we can hit the down arrow just once from this screen. There, I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but you have the date, and it also has the first couple letters of the day, such as TU for Tuesday, and it has also whether it's AM or PM. Now, what if you want this as default? You can set that from the LifeTrak app on your phone. You can select simple or full display, and if you select full, this will be the default type of display. Then you'd have to select that to put it like that. Now I have this on simple by default, so if I want to check the date or whatever, I can always press the button, but then the time is bigger when I don't want to. So it depends what you prefer, but you can set it either way from the app, or just hit it when you need it using that button. Now, hitting the up arrow from this screen, We can view notifications. I have no notifications because I don't use that. We have hourly statistics. We have daily statistics and workout mode here, which is basically your pedometer. It will have duration, so until you basically hit start using the bottom button, and the timer, basically a stopwatch in a way, will keep going up, and it will count your steps, calories burnt, and distance. And you can hit enter here as well to view the different ones like steps or distance. And then when you want to finish, you hit stop here. Then you hold it down for a few seconds and it will save it, although that seems to start it up again. So what I do is I hold it down for a few seconds, because that's what it says in the instructions. Then it might start up again. Then I pause it, then I hold it down. And when you keep it held down, eventually it'll reset. And it seems to save it anyway. Just to be sure, though, I do it both ways. I hold it down for a few seconds. That doesn't seem to do it, but just in case, I do it that way. Then I hold it down. I think you see what I'm getting at anyway. And I say hit enter to view the different statistics. As you can see, I've reset it today. Now, from that workout mode, you can hold down the right very top button, and then you can view previous days from on the watch. So there's today's, and yesterday's, etc. And you can scroll through them. You hit enter to view the different types of statistics, such as distance or steps. So it is quite good. If you hold down the very top button from the workout mode, you can view previous stats from the other days. Okay, and when you've finished looking at the previous days, you just hold down the enter button, the middle button, and it will go back. Now, what if you want to set some of the things like the alarm sort of things, like the intelligent wake up from the watch, not the app? Well, from the clock screen here, you hold down the right button, the top button, sorry. Now we can set, as you might be able to see, alarms, goals, such as how many steps you want to do today, or how many, what distance you want to do. You can set the time from there and the user info. Now that is things like your sex, male or female, your height and weight from there as well. So you can select quite a lot of it from here. So we can go to alarms. Then we have things like wake up for intelligent wake up, your sedentary or inactive alert, daylight, and if we go there, we can have daylight on, what sort of level do you want at, medium, low, etc. Then daylight duration, how much you want in minutes, so like 30 minutes or whatever from there. Then that's it, and you do that for the other sort of alarms as well, such as the intelligent wake up will just ask you what time in AM and PM. Then once you select that, you then get things in the window. What kind of a window do you want, which I explained earlier, such as 30 minutes, for it to wake you up within, and make sure you don't wake up during deep sleep. Okay, that's pretty much what's important to show you very briefly on the actual watch itself. As you can see, here's a nice sort of titanium case here. I'm not sure how well it shows up on the actual screen. The band is black with a white interior, but you can change the band, and you can get the other models of course as well. And from the side, you can see you have two black buttons, top and bottom, and a sort of silver select button in the middle. Now from the inside, I'm not sure you can see the inside, but basically that little silver strip there is just a heart rate monitor. Okay, I'm not sure where you can see this on the screen. It's a little hard to tell from where I am with this little screen on the camera. But basically, you have a list of watches of various other fitness trackers you might have of theirs. In this case, I have the Brite R450. Now, when you first launch this up, you'll create an account or sign in. And I've created an account and I've signed in. Now, there will be no watch here. You have to connect a new watch, and basically you follow the instructions and pair the watch with this phone or whichever phone it is. It would be Android or iOS. Then if you want to remove one, you remove it there and there, but then when you hit enter, just hit on it and it will go in a sec. And it'll ask you, do you want to turn Bluetooth on your phone if it's already off? In this case it's off, so it's asking me to turn it on. I'm not actually going to pair them right now, I'm just going to hit deny. Now, as you can see, it's got no statistics for today because I haven't synced the actual stats today, so it says none. But if I had the Bluetooth turned on the watch and Bluetooth turned on here, I would hit up here refresh, and it would say searching for the watch. then it would find it and sync everything up, and then things would appear here. Now let me just go back to a day I have done. Now this is yesterday's. It has my average heart rate was 86, and it says I met my goal for 10,000 steps yesterday. It has a tick and it says how many steps I did. My distance, I wanted to walk 5 miles and I walked 5.2, so it has a tick and the distance. Then I can scroll down and see calories. I wanted to burn at least 1,000 calories. I'm not really sure what minimum is best to put on there, so I just had 1,000. I did over 3. Then sleep, I wanted to sleep either 7 or 8 hours. I can't remember which I had it set at. I overslept yesterday and slept nearly 9, so I overslept. And then I have total active time. I was active for at least 5 hours, 20 minutes of total walking around. Then workout, which is where you turn on workout mode, which is basically your pedometer. And I'll show you some of these things a bit closer up in a minute. Then the amount of bright light exposure I had, such as sunlight. I had over 2 hours of sunlight yesterday because I went for a nice 5-mile walk. And then if I click that, it will say how much. The yellow in the bar graph is the amount of all light, not just blue, all light. Then blue light, blue rich light there, and wrist off there. So you can sort of get an idea. And if you want, you can turn it over, the phone on its side, and you can select up here in the corner daily, weekly, and monthly to look at a chart by month or by week instead of day. By default it's on the day, which is June the 6th in this case. And you can sort of scroll through here, or we can change it to week. In fact, you can also do yearly. Now let's just go back to this view. Now let's hit back and go back to our dashboard. Let's have a look at average heart. Now that has average heart rate for yesterday, and I can view it by week, by month, and my monthly, or at least the month I've been using this. I haven't used it for a whole month for this watch yet, but it's 84, and then yesterday's average was 86. You can also do by year. You can also have a look at your steps, day, week, month, or year. And also, of course, any of these, pretty much any of these, you can turn over to get a bit more detailed view. We can hit a back button on our phone as well here. Now distance, same sort of thing there for distance, and we can flip the phone over here as well. Calories, same sort of interface here, and we can flip it over if we want. Sleep, now we can see our sleep stats here, and we can flip him over. And we get various stats here. I'm not sure if you can read it on camera, so I'll read it out. You have total time of sleep was 8 hours 52 minutes. Hours awake that yesterday was 15 hours. My efficiency, sleep efficiency, which is basically how efficient and good your sleep was, it should be pretty clear from the name anyway, is 93%. So my sleep overall was 93% efficient, which is pretty good. My sleep start time, I'm not sure what that means because it says 00H00M. Surely that's hours and minutes, but I don't know why it would all be zeros, so I'm not really sure about that. I've tried looking it up. Wake after sleep onset 44 minutes. Number of awakenings 22. Sleep onset latency 0. And I have looked some of these up, and you can look them up yourself. I'm not going to go in a big tutorial about what all this means. But I'm not sure about number of awakenings. Is the only one I'm not sure about, because if that means how many times I woke up to say, like, go to the toilet or whatever during the night, there's no way I woke up 22 times. In fact, I believe that night I didn't wake up one time to even go to the toilet during the night, so I don't know what it means by 22. But you can look these things up yourself, and you can always add it to the comments. If you find out what some of those sleep statistics actually mean, if I'm wrong about any of them, you can always add them to a comment on this YouTube video. Then we have total active time. That's kind of similar, but you can't do by days, weeks, and months, at least not at the moment. Go back. We have workout, and it has start time. And I went for a walk that day on the 6th of June at around 3 p.m. and I came back and stopped the tracker at around 5 p.m. And my average heart rate was 86. My steps was just under 13,000 steps. My calories burnt was estimated 724, and distance was 4.99 miles. So about 5 miles, and you view by different days here, or we can go like this and view it like that. Again, there's no days, months and years here. I'm not really sure why this doesn't have that. And we can go back. Bright light, I've briefly showed you that. Now we can go up here and we can go and set our goals. Now we'd set our goals here, such as 10,000 steps, 5 mile distance, how many calories, how many hours you want to sleep, such as 7 or 8 hours of sleep. How much what the minimum amount of bright light you would like during the day is, such as 30 minutes or whatever. Then if our Bluetooth is turned on our watch, we would then hit up here to sync these. This is syncing it separately from the others, from the dashboard bits. So make sure you sync your goals. Then we can go to settings. We can set up a sync reminder, update settings prompt. It tells us what the watch is here. We can give the Bluetooth device a different name. I've left it at Brite R450. Date format, from here we can set if we want the watch to display in 12 or 24-hour format. We can sync watch to phone time, which means instead of manually entering the date and time on the watch, it'll get it from the phone network here on the phone when we sync. When we sync, it will sync the time as well, which is really, really, really good. That's so handy. Then we can set the date format. Do we want months, day, and years? And in fact, I had this as day and months first. This is on the American style. It seems to have reset, and I'm not sure why, but ignore that. Then do you want imperial or metric weight units? And I've got that on imperial, which is more the UK, for the UK. Then watch alarms, and we can set our various things from here like we can on the watch, such as our time, such as when do you want to wake up. For some reason it's on 1:35 p.m. I guess it's because my Bluetooth isn't turned on. It's not getting it from, it's getting like old information or something. Anyway, from here we can turn on notifications. You want notifications from your phone to your watch? I don't use that, as I've mentioned. Then smart calibration. You can actually calibrate the pedometer. It's on default by default, of course, which is recommended for just general sort of walking and running. Option A is recommended for low intensity walking or very mild jogging. I have it on that one. There doesn't seem to be a huge difference in it, personally. At least I haven't used option B, but between default and option A, it doesn't seem to change much what sort of stats I get. So I've just left on option A because what I do I consider to be low intensity. But if neither of those two seem accurate enough, you can always try option B, which is if the sensing orientation of the above two options do not provide accurate enough steps, try option B as basically a last resort to get it more accurate. Then we have distance, -25 to +25. To calibrate the distance, and that might solve my problem. I haven't really experimented with that yet because it's a bit more advanced, but you can actually try to tweak that distance here. I'm not quite sure what amount I'd want because it seems to vary from day to day, but you can also do that with calories as well. You can sync the settings to your watch. Now, all of these settings here, you don't apply them, then go to dashboard and do a sync. You sync it from here. So make sure once you change all these options here, you hit this button here, then it will send all of these settings you just changed to your tracker. Then you do want to save your settings to your LifeTrak account. So if you like delete this or lose your phone or something and log in on another phone, you'll still be able to keep all your settings and stuff. I recommend you do that. I recommend you turn that on and then make sure after you've sunk this to your watch, you then have this on and sync it to the cloud as well, just as a backup. We then have partners, which at the moment just Walgreens Balance Rewards. Get balance reward points for healthy activities you do every day, which sounds pretty neat. I haven't tried it because I don't think it'll work in the UK. I'll give it a shot sometime and maybe I'll update the description along with this video. But Walgreens is an American company. I don't think we have them here in the UK, so I don't think this partner bit will apply to you if you're not in the US. Although although maybe there are more in the future. There's help and log out from here as well. Then it tells you when you last used the sync function to sync your data. And down here it also says your app version, the SDK version, version and software version down there as well. Or you can view your account, change your profile picture for your LifeTrak account, change your email address, your name, your weight, your height, your date of birth, your male or female, enable sync to HealthKit or Google Fit from here as well. I recommend you have that on, and make sure you have the Google Fit or HealthKit app installed on your phone, just to make sure you have a backup in a different program other than LifeTrak. I think it's quite handy, just as a bit of a backup really, more than anything else. Okay, so I've sure showed you the watch, the outer part of the watch. I showed you the interface a little bit and how you navigate it. And I've even, I think, given you quite a good detailed look at the app. I've listed the specs. I think you should have a pretty good idea of what it is, what it supports, what it does, and how the app works, how it works. But if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments along with this video on YouTube. I'll try to answer them the best I can. So do I recommend the LifeTrak Brite R450, or simply known as the LifeTrak R450, life tracker or fitness tracker? Well, my observations about it is it's absolutely brilliant. Good battery life, uses low energy Bluetooth, so you can pair it and sync your stats to your phone. But not just that, you can also, if you don't want to use all the menus and stuff on the watch and its buttons, you can actually set the whole thing up, every little inch of it, via the app without actually having to use the menus on the watch. It's really good, high quality, very good quality, very comfortable and soft. Really comfortable and soft, very, very, very good. And you can change and calibrate all the sort of pedometer stats. You can have default option A, option B. You can adjust the sort of offset on the distance and calories. It is so good. Is there any bad points to it? Not really. The only couple things I've sort of noticed about it is with this model here, the titanium, which has a black background on the screen, in low light conditions, even slightly low light, it does, in kind of low light situations, it can be hard to read the text, because it's kind of a grey text, not even a bright white, but a grey sort of text and icons on a black background. It can be a little tricky to see. But if it's low light enough, you can hit the middle button and it will turn on the green backlight in. So there is that. It would almost be unusable, to be honest, if there was no backlight in. But with the backlight in, it is usable. It can just be a little hard to see sometimes. Now, I can't say for sure, but I really don't feel that will apply to you if you're getting one of the other models with the white background on the screen. But with this model, bear in mind the titanium has a black background to the screen, and it is a little hard to see in a little bit of low light. Also, its vibrating motor for waking you up, intelligently waking you up, is a little soft, a little weak. I think it could perhaps do with being a little stronger. But it's absolutely great. It's got pretty much everything you can think of, including a light monitor that also makes the backlighting intelligent, which is something I haven't seen before. That's really good. I think some of the other more expensive fitness trackers do have ambient light sensors, but I don't even know if they sort of are intelligent and sort of change the backlighting and stuff like that. It is really good. It also monitors your sleep and sort of starts monitoring it as you fall asleep and stops monitoring when you wake up, which makes it practical and usable, unlike some of the even more expensive fitness trackers that don't do that. In which case, if I had, say, a more expensive fitness tracker that didn't have intelligent monitoring of your sleep, I probably just wouldn't use its sleep monitoring at all, because I figure I'm just going to forget to turn it off when I wake up anyway. So it makes the sleep monitoring very, very practical and usable. I think that is a really great feature. It has a battery that lasts about 6 months on average use. However, for me, I personally would prefer that I could recharge it every so often. I would prefer a rechargeable battery rather than have to go out and buy a battery and then replace it and cross my fingers and hope I've sort of done it properly where it's still waterproof. So to me, I prefer rechargeable batteries, but this is a huge selling point for some people. Some people prefer this huge lifespan, so it depends upon personal taste for that. It's got replaceable or interchangeable bands, which is a good feature, especially if something breaks, with your band, you can replace the band without having to replace the whole thing. It is just really, 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 really good, especially at the price range, about £72, $70 in the US. And there are, like I say, some fitness trackers more expensive than this that are not as intelligent and do less. So I just really actually am very fond of it. I really, really like it. I do really, really recommend it. Definitely recommend it very strongly. So please like and comment on this video, and if you could do me a huge favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it just takes a few seconds, it will help me out a lot. Also, if you're watching this as a review on the Amazon product page, please hit the useful or helpful button. That will also help me out a lot too. Thanks for watching.